Hello and welcome to the show. We are back at the Endurodrome with 3 more vehicles being driven till destruction. Starting with, well, from this angle, what looks like a normal covet. It isn't though. This is the microvet, because when you go around the side, it looks like a road trip adventure version of a covet. It is quite small. I think the front end, I said, up to about the windscreen, I think is the same as a normal covet, but everything else has been considerably shortened. Where's the inside? I have to have a look at the interior. Yeah, so basically you kind of lose the back seats. It's quite difficult moving the camera around in here, but never mind. Yeah, you lose the back seats in this. So it is very small, very light, still the same engine, so probably not too slow. Of course, I don't quite know how all of this shortening is going to affect the vehicle. I mean, it's going to change handling characteristics. It's, well, changed weight and so on. How on earth might it now survive the various demands of the Endurodrome? The Comet, and in general the small cars, haven't really fared all that amazingly well. We got rid of our front bumper. Who needed that? This being a front-wheel drive version of the car, I mean, has always got the scary front wheels, sorry, are going to take, a lot of damage, and that's the radiator gone across the speed bump. That's probably the least of our concerns. Yeah, the front wheels take a lot of damage, whether it be from hitting speed bumps, whether it be from landing jumps, and, well, being a front-wheel drive, anything happens to one of the wheels, and that's probably the car dead. So, that is a downside to this. I mean, maybe the very lightweight nature of it might help. There's just less weight, less mass crashing down when we land the jumps. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. Radiator having gone so early is less than ideal. That's a big hit. I don't think we're going to get through the mud pit with this, although it might just be able to dance your way across the mud, little covet. I didn't actually go down the gears. Okay, the covet can go through the mud. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. I wasn't expecting that to work, but there we go. The mud pit has caused some issues for cars of late, but the covet, we got slowed down, but no real issues. We pinged off a rock, bounced and rolled, and no real harm done. Other than, well, the already damaged radiator. The rear wheels are looking a little bit buckled. We go mostly in a straight line, which, again, surprises me considering the battering the car has taken. To be honest, if it goes until it overheats, that's probably doing quite well for a little hatchback. A lot of them have had problems. Although the rear left wheel is moving around awkwardly. That doesn't really look like it's still attached. The bad things have gone on with the rear left wheel. Worst thing. I was about to say the rear left looks like it's not quite attached properly. It's got some movement, but it's mostly in the right place. I think the rear right's almost lost like the whatever holds it in position at the top. This is now not very good to drive, and now not going to have the speed to get up here properly. That's probably the best outcome that I could ask for there. It's rolled, but not rolled in the worst possible way. Kind of a slow speed roll, sort of fell onto its roof and then slid slowly sideways into a tree. Of all the possibilities, all the possible outcomes from that, I would say that that's not the worst. It is going to, well, give us issues. We've got very little control. Losing the rear wheels on a front-wheel drive car, is not the end of the day. They are still drivable. However, losing it in this manner has made this car very uncontrollable. And I mean, short wheelbases are already a bit more, well, I say twitchy, a little bit more darty. They'll change directions better. But when you've got that level of damage on a rear wheel, that's going to do all sorts of terrible things to the handling characteristics. Has plenty of steam billowing out from the engine. We will probably overheat. Will we make it onto a third lap before we overheat? Looking at the temperature gauge, probably not. I think both of my rear wheels are going. Yep, both the rear wheels are snapped. Oh no. Don't know what's caused that. I drove over my own front bumper. Not a clever thing to do, because they'll get caught up in bits of the bits of the car. That has just swapped ends on me. That is not what I want a car to be doing. So, it will merrily drive along like normal, and then it flexes, and then we have no real control at all. It's very poorly. The cover is, or the microvet I should say, is very, very poorly indeed. It doesn't like this course whatsoever. I've not seen this level of damage to the rear wheels of a front-wheel drive car for a very long time. Even the Covet Turtle, the like armoured Covet, that did some weird things to the rear wheels, but they were at least more intact than this. I mean, they were dualies as well, so there's a lot of weight messing about with that rear axle, rear suspension. This has just given up the ability to car. You know what last time happened with the impressive ability at climbing through the mud pit? Oh, no. I don't think... Well, actually, I say it might not be able to do it. It's going to burn the engine to bits. It might still be able to do it. Going through here. Yeah, it's obviously small enough and light enough that it's not actually digging itself too badly into a hole. Now, if it does get completely stuck, I am allowed to pull the car out of the mud pit. If we do get completely beached in here, which we have done that, that's not coming out of that part. It was going okay. It went okay last time around. This time, not so much. Just grab the front bumper, pull you clear. There we go. We are out. Actually gives it a little bit of a cool down momentarily from all of that across the rocks. Not too bad. Not too bad across there. My big concern really is, well, if the overheating... Oh, that's going to be a big concern as well, doing that sort of thing. My concerns are now I've got very little control over where my car is going, and when we come to a big jump, it's just going to suddenly veer off course and hit trees or solid objects. In this case, just veer while trying to approach a ramp and, well, fall off the end and crash into a rock. There's not much more that can be damaged at the front, other than the wheel axles, let's face it. Well, I guess you can do a main engine failure if we were really unlucky. But yeah, that's probably what's going to see the car dead, because the wheels themselves flapping around like that aren't actually going to stop us going. It's the consequences. Somehow we got it going in a straight line, briefly. It got bounced and almost fell over. It's putting up a good show. I'm impressed as far as that goes. It is putting up a pretty damn good show around here. It doesn't really want to die. The engine's starting to get poorly now. My screen is just gradually filling more and more with smoke as the run goes on. Here we go. We might be able to... Oh, no. No, get away from the tree. Christ. My steering is just a suggestion at this point. Steering is very much a suggestion. Can we actually climb up here? We are still good to get up here. Again, both times the main jump, we've not been able to hit it even vaguely in a straight line. Who knows what damage that might have done to the car, because other things have gone on a lot worse than that jump. Across the speed bumps we go. Ouch. That hit the front on something. I don't know what. I guess maybe the front, even like the chassis, the front subframe might have hit the ground there. Can we still... Oh, we've still got enough steering to get it into the petrol station. We'll still get it through here, and likewise, even with the upcoming chicane. Oh, car, you only need a little bit more. Oh, God. You only need a little bit more to make it onto a third lap, which would be very good going for a Covet. Very good going for a front-wheel drive Covet, especially considering the state of this one has been for the last lap or so. Here we go. Here's the start-finish line. We're on to a third lap. It's not got long for this world, let's face it. Temperature is very hot. I think that's just an oil overheating. It's going to blow the head gasket if it hasn't gone already. It's, yeah, very, very poorly now. We're barely making it up these jumps. We are still just about going fast enough to still be in the series. If we can't get above 20 miles an hour, there goes the head gasket. The cars are counted out. This one is still capable of doing that, only just, but it is still capable of doing that. Get it down to third. Try and limp a little further, Covet. Oh, wow, those speed bumps are doing mean things to it. Or, well, let's face it, they have done mean things to it. Look at the back. That is a lot of camber. That is a lot of camber. I think that's the engine giving up. Yeah, I've got no more drive. That is the engine given up. The engine locked up. The engine seized. The car is destroyed. I mean, I've not quite seen the back end, not the rear wheels let go in that manner before. We saw the Regency's axle essentially dislocate almost from the back of the car, but this has got incredible levels of wheel travel going on at the back, made it very, very difficult to drive. In the end, didn't kill it, I guess, any faster than if the radiator went and it overheated. Nothing else went on the car, which is quite impressive. I guess it might have been... We're struggling for almost speed in places to really do that much damage. Either way, a spectacularly silly failure for the microvet. Up next, we are sticking with the interesting, almost body modifications to standard cars. This time, a Grand Marshal, a coupe version of the Grand Marshal. I quite like the look of this one. Interesting. It's got an interesting back end. Of course, while I guess underpinnings are similar to a normal Grand Marshal, again, you've got changes in weight, changes in, I presume, like weight distribution, and so on. This is a sport version of the car. While it's not the ludicrous, supercharged, monstrously fast vehicle, it's still pretty quick. Slightly lower suspension, although still quite soft. I mean, hell, simple setup changes between vehicles would probably make quite the difference around this course. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how this goes. Grand Marshals around previous destruction circuits have been very good. Around the Endurodrome, a couple of variants that have run have not been the strong. They've been okay, but they haven't been up towards the top of the series. Everything kind of looks a little... It's strange, it's quite bouncy in this. It's almost wobble-matic suspension, but not as strong, I think. Or maybe it is. Is it leaves at the back? Leaf springs at the back are very, very strong. We have seen many a time leaf springs in some ways are the way to go until they eventually do let go. Not sure what this has got at the back. It's kind of bouncing around in a peculiar manner. It does look slightly collapsed, which would suggest that probably not. Either very unlucky and we hit a leaf spring out immediately, or it's more likely probably not. Can we get through the mud pit with this? We got through it with the microvet. We will get through it with the Grand Marshal. Work the engine hard, but we are out the other side, no problem. Okay, across the rock pit we go. Oh, we're going to bounce around a lot, but no real harm done. Yeah, no real harm done there. First, big jump, big landing. No real crunching either from the car. That's what we like to hear. For now, I mean, we've seen plenty of cars that just take one hit. This is not really a vehicle that I expect to see go out in one hit. It's possible, of course it is. With this sort of thing, it's always possible to get a little unlucky and snap a drive shaft or something. But other than the rally cars, things like the Outlaw, the Covet V6R4, they're very fast and have got the suspension to deal with the bumps here. It's when they get slightly out of position or maybe slightly tweaked steering or just unlucky that they can land and take out something massive, because they're going quick. Whereas this, I would expect to see it slowly fall apart. I would expect to see it slowly disintegrate around the course, gradually getting perhaps slower each lap as the bumps take their toll on it. Because it's never going to be as quick, certainly around the dirt sections, it's never going to be as quick as the all-wheel drive rally cars, all-wheel drive off-road vehicles. It doesn't have the grip to be as fast in places. So yeah, we would expect to see this as a slow disintegrating vehicle. You never know. I've managed to clip the front tyre on the bloody... I don't even know what it is, pole or something that sticks out down there. A bit of debris on the side of the road. That has nastily cut the front tyre. The front suspension itself looks like it's all completely and utterly gone. That's generally not a good sign. It might not be completely gone. It might just be a little broken. It might just be the first stages of broken suspension. We can live with that if that is the case. If it is gone, we're going to have issues across... No, it's still got some movement in there. There's kind of a couple of stages of suspension braking. You get the first stage where you've kind of on the floor, completely bottomed out, and you've not really got any movement. You can sometimes get cars where the suspension gets locked, where you hit a bump, hit a whatever, speed bump or something, and it pushes the wheels up and they just get locked in place, and then you have absolutely no movement, and that's very bad when that one happens. Don't see it too often. Normally something else or the car's given up before it ever gets to that state, but have seen it before. Oh, that's a roll into the mud pit. That's a big roll into the mud pit. The advantages of rolling into here is at least it's a fairly soft landing. It is a softer landing crashing into the mud pit upside down than, well, just about anywhere else on the map. So that is something, at least, for the Grand Marshal. Let's get you back and turned around. Doesn't look like any of the wheels have been bent. Does look like the front left is poorly. That seems to be gradually going down with each time I look at it, it's getting lower and lower. That would suggest more and more broken, less and less suspension travel. Something's going to go through that wheel and snap. That is the one that's lost a tyre. I guess also the tyre probably won't help with that, making it look lower. Eventually a shock will go through that and snap the wheel axle. Again, provided we don't have radiator failure. I think the furthest Grand Marshal's got was 3, lap 4 drive shaft snapped coming down here. Of course, with this vehicle, you've got engine at the front, driven at the back, long drive shaft goes underneath it, and the chassis gets bent on these landings. Gradually over time it bends more and more, and there'll come a point where it bends to the point where the drive shaft can't get from the gearbox all the way to the back. So that is something to watch out for with this sort of car. What are we doing speed-wise? We are slower this time around. Well, sometimes we're about the right sort of speed to make it over that jump nicely and get a good landing, although sometimes getting a landing over there, over the jump, gives you a lot more speed heading towards those 3 speed bumps. And again, we've seen plenty of cars tear themselves apart on those. We are out of the petrol station, heading up towards the final chicane, and we are going to head on towards a lap number 3 in considerably better condition. Oh, okay, not quite turning as well through there, but in considerably better condition with this than we were in the microvet. Much better condition than the microvet. Oh, there goes the radiator. That's an unusual place to see a radiator failure. Okay. I think perhaps what we've seen is the front of the car is... Well, the front of the car is getting lower and the front's starting to get bent up, and as we went up that ramp, it obviously just caught... I say obviously, I would presume just caught the bottom of the radiator, and that's pinged it off. We can just about see... I can't spin the camera too much around the side at the moment because I won't see where I'm going and then have a very silly crash. It does look like the front of the car is gradually being bent up. We're kind of bananaing the chassis. Wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the first time at all in this series we have seen such antics unfold. Oh, big slides. Now, without being crazy turbocharged, big superchargers and so on, this engine might stand a chance of not overheating too quickly. Although temperature has moved up a little bit since initial, maybe. Oh, that's a big jump. The mud pit is, well, actually we go through there quite nicely. Mud pit can overheat engines. Trying to get the car, trying to power the car through that. We will clonk across the rocks once more. Still all the front wheels, well, mostly pointing in the right direction. We struggle a little bit with understeer at times, but they are still all functioning, even with some more nasty hits on there. Yeah, we've not got much suspension travel left on the front. It is that gradual, repeated battering that is collapsing the front of the car. It's going to hit something if it doesn't overheat. It's a big if, because, you know, ticking time bomb and everything, it will overheat now. If it goes out before that, it will probably be, I'd imagine drive shaft, to be fair, or complete loss of steering. As the front gets lower, speed bump, I would be worried about here. I think we're still fast enough. Although, are we slower again? Oh, we are slower again this time around. Oh, that's quite nasty. Does that just tear its own front... Oh, okay, that... I think we got away with that mostly being a front bumper being torn off underneath the car. It was... Oh, and again, that's quite nasty on the front. Things are not looking great for the front end of this particular Grand Marshal. The temperature isn't going up too quickly. We might even get another lap out of this car, which would be pretty... If we could get onto lap 5, that'd be pretty good. Steering has got worse, though, this lap around. Something stuck, don't know what. Maybe a bit of front bumper stuck in the wheel. Don't really... If it does completely lock the wheel up, I am allowed to pull it out. I don't really want to pull it out unless that's completely necessary, because you can make condition of the wheel and tyre a lot worse by trying to pull stuff free, with the way things get kind of crash welded together here. Temperature is... Well, the temperature light is on. It is creeping its way up here. Yeah, it might be asking quite a lot, actually, getting it to the end of this lap. It's putting in a good show, though. The Grand Marshal is putting... Oh... That's not what definitely don't want to hit speed bumps sideways. That is how we've broken a few cars, actually. Okay, our front left wheel is knackered. Our front left wheel has gone. I think that's lost all steering on that side. It might... oh, no, it does. Oh, okay, it's got the tiniest amount of turning. It turns much better to the left than it does to the right. So right-handers are going to be difficult. It has got, I think, either I've just been very lucky with... No, it has still got... maybe the tiniest, it's like the slightest bit of the tyre rod maybe still connected. It's not good though, so we are going to be slow through all of these corners. It might stop the engine overheating a little bit because I just got to be slower in general, but will also give us trouble in that, you know, trying to position the car for something specific, like trying to position it to get through the mud pit as good as possible might be tough. Grand Marshal does very well, actually, through there. I will give it that much. It does impressively well through the mud pit. Across the rockery we go. No. Oh, okay. Maybe some problems. The mud kind of grabbed the wheel and pulled it in. Now, I think we have. Oh no, the mud has actually killed it. I've got no steering. I was gonna leave it in neutral, let it roll back, so that I could continue onwards. But no, I don't know whether the mud tore the working wheel off or whether the rocks tore it off before we hit the mud. The steering is gone. The engine is still working in the car. However, the mud/rocks saw fit to remove all the steering from that. I mean, it survived remarkably well. As I said, the front was gradually getting lower and lower, suspension taking more and more damage until it eventually had enough, and it was going to catch on something, get caught on something. There goes the engine, pretty much. I'll turn the engine off. It's worked hard. It has worked hard. Yeah, steering destroyed. Still, pretty damn good showing for the Grand Marshal Coupe. And finally, tackling the Endurodrome today is the Kashira, this people carrier for Beam. However, not a normal one. No, I have got a rally spec, because of course you want a rally spec people carrier. So, raised ride height, off-road tyres, probably softer springs, there's a roll cage in it, we've got a bash bar at the front, might protect the radiator, or intercoolers and or important gubbins, possibly. Who knows? There is a downside that goes with off-roaders, of course. While, yes, theoretically much better suited to this sort of course, they tend to, with their raised ride height, have a higher centre of mass. And that leads to more rolling over shenanigans. Yeah, the big off-roaders do tend to roll over quite nicely, quite well, and that can do damage. The radiator would be the concern in a rollover, like actual stopping it going. Probably not, although you can. We saw it with the DH Outlaw. Oh, bloody hell. If it does start rolling, the wheels, with their sort of greater suspension travel, can often be in more danger. You can ping wheels off as the vehicle is rolling and tumbling, etc. Not something we particularly want to do. It should still drive. I believe this is all-wheel drive. It should still drive if we lost a wheel, but it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient, and generally just puts a lot more stress on the rest of the car, on the truck, whatever it might be. Ooh, that's a little bit of a nasty landing. It's going to be stuck on its side. That's fine. I mean, we can recover that. Not too much damage done. Over we go. Radiator still in one piece. No smoke billowing from the front. That is what I like to see. Now this has got a big turbo on the engine. If and when we snap the radiator, that will probably overheat quite quickly. These sort of cars do not tend to last. There are varying degrees, of course, of radiator damage. Little punches leak a lot slower, meaning you don't start overheating quite as soon. Some cars have got lucky with those sort of leaks. But in general, oh, that's bad. Don't go towards the concrete. Please stop. Oh, ouch. Ouch. That's about as bad a position as you could ask for. Wow, this is quite a heavy vehicle. Come on, get over. That's about as bad a position you could ask for a rollover. Amazingly, I mean, it went crunch into the concrete with the underside. I was worried for a drive shaft. Didn't snap one. So, theory about the Kashira falling over, pretty accurate. It falls over quite well. It falls over very well. That is something to watch out for. I think my steering's a little tweaked in all of that. That's not ideal. Oh, that took out the radiator. Bugger. Okay, well there goes the radiator. I'm hoping it's only a small leak from the radiator. Yes, it's not. It doesn't really quite go in a straight line. I think all of the wheels are pointing at a slightly different angle in this one, but there we go. Up towards the chicane. Now we've still got more than enough. It's not steering damage to affect it from being able to, make left and right turns. It's steering damage to affect it. Yeah, okay, so there it just pulls violently to the left. It's steering damage to affect it lining up for a jump. And when you're on dirt, you don't really want to take that big back jump sideways. You spin like that, and you'd risk tearing a wheel off on the landing. I don't don't know how strong the wheel axles are in this particularly. Can't remember what the... We have had a standard, a normal kashira, if you like, go around here. Can't remember how far that got. I think that went out with steering damage in the end. So, don't want to be risking a similar fate to this. Maybe the radiator puncture isn't too bad. We're still only at normal operating temperature, which is good. We should, with the off-road tyres, not have to burn the engine too much getting through the mud pit. That's what I'm hoping here. It's something that should... I'm not quite positioned where I want to be, but never mind. Throw it into the mud pit. Oh, we're going to go for another... The mud is nasty. The mud is very nasty. Can we get you turned around? Oh, I think... Have we pushed that front left wheel back? Ooh. Both, actually. Either that or done bodywork damage. I think it's actually more likely we've pushed the entire front axle backwards. That's not great. That's... I would probably expect... Oh, that something's gone even worse in the front there. My steering's dodgy. Steering is very dodgy now. But you can see that's really not sat where it should be anymore. This kind of works in the cars... In terms of overheating the car, it works in its favour. While I have to... All the vehicles, I have to drive them as hard as I can around here. As they start getting damaged, I just physically can't drive them as hard. We can't keep them under control, so I have to brake a little bit more, be a little slower in places, and that will help with keeping the temperature down slightly, but of course, it does mean the car is, well, more broken, and other things are likely to give up before overheating. So, yeah, you don't want a broken car, really, funnily enough, tackling around here. We are faster this time for the big jump, which is good. Oh, clonks down on the front. Those front wheels are taking a battering in this. Are we still... Oh, that's fine. Well, I say that's fine. Didn't sound it, or doesn't really look it. We got away with it. There was another clonk. I'm really expecting something to snap on one of these front wheels. Not sure which one's going to give way first. The front right has been hit a good number of times so far. The front right has been hit a good number of times. It is still going. Oh, across the big jump we go. Got it landed, slowed it down. Through the chicane, no problem. We are on to a third lap, and it's pretty rapid around here. Even in this current damaged state, it is not going slowly around here. From the all-wheel drive, good amount of power, pretty good amount of grip, considering how broken the front of the car is. It's still carrying good quarter speed. I've just got to be mindful that we don't run out of turning at an important part in the course. Right, got speed bumps. Oh, ping the ping the back of the car up. We're on two wheels. It's well, it's all a little bit mad. It's all a little bit mad from the kashira. We're still going. Could we get onto a lap 4? Ooh, that's pushing it, I would guess, judging by the current temperature situation. Not impossible. Does depend, I guess, on the strength of the engine as well. If the engine... Some of the engines can run very hot for a little longer before we end up blowing them to bits. I'm hoping that this one here might possibly be one of them. Oh, come on. Go through the mud pit. Go through the... Now, it might still dig itself into a hole and get stuck. There is a couple of sort of big pits almost in here that the vehicles can get stuck in. There goes the head gasket. We're going to be asking an awful lot now, actually, if we're going to make it to the end of the lap. Will one of the wheel axles let go? Will the steering give out before the engine blows up? That's really the only remaining question we have here. The engine's very poorly here. Oh, the rear suspension's held up remarkably well. I mean, the front suspension itself has held up. It's just the wheels being pushed back in the arches that's the problem. Especially considering the damage we took on lap 1. Coming down here on that first lap around, I'm amazed. Well, I say I'm amazed in some ways we're still going. That could have very easily killed the car. Come on, bounce your way along this section. It's not very pleasant, I know, but we've got to get through it. We are losing power now. I think that might be the end of the engine, actually. Can we still accelerate any? No, we've still got some. We are definitely losing power. We are definitely losing power. We're going to try to accelerate our way up over this jump. We're struggling with steering. Okay. Didn't snap anything on the landing. I'm amazed. Oh, can we get going? Oh. Think the engine might be about to give up, considering that's all the get-going we've got. That's all the get-going we've got. I'm pretty sure that is a car... Oh, there it goes. There's the engine locked. That's the car dead. Couldn't turn it on again. That's a dead... That's a dead people carrier. The Rally Kashira. I mean, it did pretty well. Did pretty well. Good way around on its third lap. excessive amount of damage done to those front wheels, pushed a long way back, and amazed it's still got drive and whatnot working to them. But I guess the front kind of protection was doing its job in at least keeping it still in one piece. The radiator, once gone, it's always going to overheat, and this engine's likely to run hot anyway, so perhaps not too surprised. The rest of the car held up well, considering a number of tumbles from the vehicle. We could have seen a lot more damage to it, and it does better than the normal Kashira. You would expect it to. We've seen weird results here before, but yeah, it does better than the normal one. So, on to the leaderboard, and the Grand Marshal Coupe goes a decent way up. It goes into a 16th place with that lap 4 steering failure. That's certainly not too bad at all around here. It gets beaten by the Blackfoot, by the Montgomery, the Mullock, the Toyota A86, but beats the Legrand, the Caravan, the Ford Falcon, 200BX, the Ambulance, the Satsuma. That's a very good run. That's a very good run for the car. We go a little bit further down, not too far though, to find the Kashira. The rally version of the vehicle go into a 25th place. Considerably beats the normal version. That was somewhere on lap 2. That one gave out. It beats the Pazima Monster, the Autobello, the normal Grand Marshal. We find that down here. Yeah, I mean, it did good. It did good. I think the wheels were going to give up fairly soon had the engine not overheated. And then we go a little bit further down. Again, still fairly decent distance. Fairly decent distance all round from vehicles today. The Microvet goes into a 42nd place. Beats the MX-5, the Soilad, Satsuma. Beats the normal 94 Covet. It's not actually that far down on the all-wheel drive version of the Covet that went around. And for such a tiny car, and for such a broken tiny car for such a long period of time, quite surprised that one succumbed to overheating rather than a myriad of other things that were wrong with it. But there we go. That is going to be it for this episode. As ever, I shall link all the mods used in the description so you can download them and have a go with them yourself. But that's going to be it from me. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.